Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 438. I'm rested and recovered from an epic, fantastic, wonderful Club 400 Christmas party on Friday night. So we'll talk about that. Spoiler alert. I had so much fun at the Club 400 Christmas party. I stayed way past my bedtime, and I had such a good time that I skipped the Rockford Card Show. I was a little under the weather on Saturday morning. My mother-in-law was watching our dog. My wife's out of town for Christmas weekend with her girlfriends from college, so picked our dog up and kind of just crashed on the couch all day and night last night. So that was my Saturday. Was so Sunday. A lot of catching up to do. I came home I was worried because my card saver order, my semi-rigid, I think it's semi-rigid from BCW. The semi-rigids, which are these, although these are Ultra Pro. These are actually card savers from Ultra Pro. But the semi-rigid made by BCW, I ordered 15,000. That's 250 pounds worth of semi-rigids. They had been delivered. They were on my porch when I arrived home. I was worried because they were initially scheduled to be delivered on Friday. And my wife left Friday morning. I left in the afternoon. The initial delivery time was like between like 9:30 and 11:30. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. That's not going to happen. But I didn't leave until like 3. So I'm like, well, should be delivered by then. And they weren't. So now I'm worried that I'm going to have 7 boxes on my porch overnight into Saturday, and I didn't want that. But if a porch pirate would have came along and they would have tried, screw it, we're not taking this. Plus, they'd be pretty bummed if they were semi-rigids, unless they were a card collector. So fortunately, they were delayed. One of the few times that I'm happy with a delayed shipment delivery. So it was delayed, and they were actually delivered like just before noon yesterday, and I got home at like 12. They were only sitting on my porch for a half an hour. What's up, Herman? Jenny's with us. Good morning. Jenny says, yes, we do have a Ring doorbell. I don't even use it. I used to. It came in really handy when I worked now working from home, like my office overlooks the street and the driveway. So, I've got the FedEx and the UPS schedule down. I know exactly when they're coming through the neighborhood. So I don't even use it. When I worked in the office, when I was not at home, it came in handy. I could, if there was, an alert, because they usually don't ring the doorbell. So they just kind of knock. And that gave me a fit when my Allen and Ginter case came back in 2017, 18. It was 17 because it was the week of our wedding, and my wife was home and she was upstairs, and they just kind of tapped on the door, and I had to sign for it, which I think if a signature is required, they should ring the doorbell, because if you're upstairs, downstairs, you're not going to hear a tap on the door. So anyway, we do have a Ring doorbell, but I don't use it. Just because I'm always home now. This is the one time where I have a delivery, because I don't get too many deliveries. Most of my stuff goes to my PO box. If I order boxes, cases, that comes to my house, but I'm always home. Rarely am I out of town. So this was the one exception, but it ended up working out. The shipping delay worked out in my favor this weekend. So that came. I picked up. So before I lead into the Club 400 Christmas party, So, I've talked about this a few times. My buddy Davis was supposed to bring some of my auction winnings to like the National, to the Spectacular, to Club 400 like this summer. The auction was held like I think in the spring. So bought and paid for a long time ago. And most of it's for my own collection, but some of it I will be putting on eBay. So what it was kind of it wasn't much in the auction, but I ended up buying some. The highlight for me was uncut sheets of Cubs minor league sets. One of which was the 2012 Iowa Cubs that features the very first Cubs Anthony Rizzo card. So after he was traded from San Diego to the Cubs, and he started at AAA Iowa. And then there was a bunch of like Peoria Chiefs uncut sheets. In total, I bought 27 uncut minor league team sets, and my cost was about $1 a piece for an uncut sheet of the minor league team sets. So I think I don't like uncut sheets. Now the Rizzo is cool because it's something, it's frame worthy, but some of the other sets, there's Jeff Samardzija on one, so that's cool. Some of the Peoria Chiefs, I can't remember who was on, but there's I think Darwin Barney maybe, but nothing great like the Rizzo. So I think I'm going to end up putting a bunch of them on eBay because most of them are duplicates. So I think of the 27 sheets total, there's probably only 4 or 5 unique sheets. So I can keep the 4 or 5, and then I'll just put the rest on eBay because they're so hard to store unless you frame them or roll them up in a tube. Also, I never sell Cubs cards. However, somebody asked me, does that count as 35 cards or 1 card as a sheet? And I'm not counting any of them. So these, I can, in the why, here's why. I consider them a poster more than, it's not a giant card and it's not individual cards. I treat it almost like a complete set. So I have a couple of, sealed complete sets of tops, like 2000 last year, 2020 tops. I think it was 2017. So I don't count any of the Cubs in there because it's part of the complete top set, and it's not part of my Cubs collection. So I don't count, it's not part of the Cubs collection. Now, something different, and here's where I think in yesterday or in the last video I did, the quirks of the 1 Million Cubs project, and this is a perfect example. So while I don't count those, I do count if I pick up a team set, like in one of those blister packs. Now I do count that as like 30 cards because all it takes, because it's a part of my Cubs collection, and all it is me just opening the package up and boom, there's 30 cards. So, but the uncut sheets, and you could say, well, they're part of your collection and you can just cut them and then they become cards. So I can make the argument either way, but I'm just going to consider them posters, not count them because I'm not going to cut them up. And I'm probably going to end up only keeping one of each because they can get damaged so easily. I mean, already in transport, the corners of the posters are dinged. It doesn't affect the actual cards because there's plenty of white space around the actual cards. But as a whole, the sheet is not in mint condition or whatever. So I think I'm going to end up, putting many of them on eBay, just because I got them for so cheap, and they're a kind of a pain to store without damaging. So that was one thing I got. What's up, Dan? Good evening to you. What's up, Diego? So what else? So the sheets, that was kind of the main thing. And then there was a box of Cubs, like just singles, mostly early 80s. My buddy counted them for me, so I didn't even have to count them. 2,805. So that puts the Cubs count, and I added that to the total last night, 734,558. So that's the new Cubs count after the 2,805. All commons, like 79 tops, 83 tops. I think there was some 84 tops, some just random early to mid 80s. So there were those Cubs cards, the uncut sheets. There were 217. I counted 1973 tops baseball singles. So I'll be putting those in my eBay store probably tomorrow, because today I have 150 items to ship because I slacked yesterday when I got home. So I'll be shipping today, and then tomorrow I'll be doing a file exchange update with 73 tops baseball singles, mostly all commons. There's a couple that there's a Burt Blyleven that's actually in pretty good condition. Most of them are, a little dinged up. They're not, near mint. Some are really off center. So typical vintage, early 70s stuff. So that was part of it. 217, 73 tops. Only 2 Cubs cards were in that. So actually 2,807 Cubs in this group altogether, which I didn't count those 2 73 tops cards. So I guess the count is 734,560. So 73 tops, and then there were 3 media guide programs, 2 of which were Peoria Chiefs, mid 80s. This was probably the steal of the whole shebang. Was a 1985 Peoria Chiefs program, and on the cover, it's the whole team on the cover, but it features a very young and very skinny Greg Maddux. Rafael Palmeiro was also on that team, but he did not get called up to Peoria until later in the season. So after the book was published. But inside there was like a game day, like they have the game day just typed out one-piece papers with the rosters and stats of all the players. They played the team that I grew up watching in person, Quad City Angels, which featured a young Dante Bichette. And so that was fun to see. Just going through some of the articles and advertisements, really cool especially the local ads, because I grew up, about an hour from Peoria, so I was familiar with a lot of that stuff. So the 85 program, the 86 program, I figured I think I paid $5 for there were 3 programs. There was 85 Peoria Chiefs, 86 Peoria Chiefs, and 93 Bradley Braves basketball, which is cool because the head coach at that time was Jim Molinari, who was the head coach when I worked at Western Illinois and traveled with the team. And one of his star players on that Bradley team was Billy Wright, who was an assistant when I worked at Western. And then he became the head coach after Coach Mo. So that was really cool to go through that program. So yeah, pick those 3 up for like $5 total. I've looked on eBay just to see. I'm like that Greg Maddux 85 Peoria Chiefs is, and periodicals, books, programs, media guides, they're really not worth anything. But they can be, I think it's still a steal at, basically a $1 or $2 for the program. Herman's going to check to see if you have any Braves in the 73. Sounds good. I'm sure there are. Jenny going to be opening up an eBay store today. Excited and nervous all in one. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Catherine Vogue, FYI, Vesk Tech to you. So that was what I picked up. I did not go to the Rockford Card Show. I considered stopping at a Walmart on the way. There's a couple of Walmarts I ended up taking. I didn't even drive by the show. So it's not like I drove right next to the card show, because I took the back roads. I hate interstates. So it's probably about the same amount of time cutting across. And so I'll drive down through Janesville and then cut from Janesville, cut across over. Harvard, Illinois was my was my little honey hole of a Walmart back before COVID. I was picking up like 2018 Topps Holiday on the discount. They were still discounting as late as 2019. 2018 Topps Update I was picking up, and of course I was ripping all that. I knew that I should have kept it sealed, but I wanted to rip. So there were other people that found my honey hole. So they still have one of the best selections Walmart in this area. So, but I drove right past that, but I skipped it. So that's that was what I had for Saturday. So let's talk Club 400 Christmas party. I'm a big fan of Club 400. They have now raised, I think, around $550,000 for charity. Most of it has gone to local people, that are going through some struggles with illness or death. So a lot of it has benefited local Cubs fans, and that's kind of that is their motto: Cubs fans helping Cubs fans. So it's a magical. It is truly the Disney World for Chicago Cubs fans. And I can't do videos and pictures of Club 400 do not do it justice. And I know that because there's timers at Club 400 on Friday night that said the same thing. They're like, I've seen pictures and I've seen videos, but it just doesn't, until you walk in, you don't realize it's like a 3,000 square foot basement, which is just completely decked out. It looks like it is a museum. It's insanity. So the pictures, the videos do not do it justice. Some of the for fundraisers in the past. I do know when Javi Baez was there in May of 2018, that was right after the hurricane in Puerto Rico. Of course, Javi, a Puerto Rican native, benefited hurricane relief for Puerto Rico. Kyle Schwarber was there a couple months after that. And he's a big supporter of firefighters, and so it went to the local fire department. A police officer died in the line of duty, and one of the events, all the money raised went to him. There's a family in Muscatine, Iowa, the Colognes, and they have a son Riker, who has a really rare disease, and he's now in a wheelchair. And so the last event with Ryan Dempster raised $50,000 for that family. So it's just a really awesome. It's not just about going and meeting Cubs players and drinking a lot of beer and eating great local food. It's about raising money for local families and friends in need. So it's just a really cool spot. Good morning, Uncle Rich. So Friday night, it was Patrick Wisdom who broke Chris Bryant's Cubs rookie home run record this past year. So Patrick Wisdom was the longtime major league pitcher. Ray Burris was in the house. He's been to Club 400 several times. He's one of us now. He's just a fan. He hangs out, and so it's always great to have Ray in the house. And Sammy Sosa's longtime friend and personal assistant, Julian Martinez, was in the house as well. So he actually called Sammy, and they put him on the microphone. I'm trying to extract it from. I've seen some of my other friends have put videos up on that. I have the video that I went Facebook Live, trying to download that so I can upload it to YouTube. But Sammy called in and he said next year he's coming back to Chicago. He hasn't been back to Chicago in a while. So he said next year is the year. His mother he's in the Dominican Republic right now. His mom is not doing well health-wise. So he's with her. But he said next year, 2022, is the year. He's going to come back maybe springtime. So hopefully we'll have Sammy at Club 400. That would be one of the most epic parties ever. So it was great to hear from Sammy. Everybody wants him to come back. It's time for Sammy Sosa to be welcomed back to Wrigley. I hate that there's that dissension between the Cubs franchise and Sammy. Hopefully they can mend old wounds and get him back to Wrigley, and maybe at the least get him to Club 400 next spring. So that would be really cool. I FaceTimed with Jody Davis. How cool is that? So my friend Patty, we were talking. She goes, "Hey, do you have an iPhone?" And I said, yeah." She goes, "She has an Android." She goes, "Well, Jody wants me." I'm like, she's like, "Jody Davis," and I'm like, "Oh, awesome!" So we FaceTime with Jody Davis. It was kind of hard because it's a loud party, but Ray was sitting right next to us. So Ray Burris and Jody Davis got to talk to each other for a little bit. So FaceTiming Jody Davis, those are the things that happen at Club 400. Just you never know what is gonna happen. So what's great, Patrick Wisdom hung out the entire night. I think he's been the first guest, and I've been to, I think it was my 12th Club 400 party. And Patrick Wisdom stayed after midnight. Like he was hanging out. He shotgunned a White Claw with a fan. He was having a great time. I think he's been the only player that stayed like after the Q&A and just hung out for the whole night, just to party with his fans. Just an awesome guy. Just a really cool. It was so me and my friend Dave were talking about this like toward the end of the night, because usually I go like after Q&A, the party kind of dies down and just head back, and the party kept going, and it was after 1 a.m., which usually I'm in bed by 10. It was after 1 a.m. and I'm like, okay, it's time to get out of here. And the party was still, my friend Scott, who I stay with, lives just down the street. He's like, geez, after 1, he's like, was it, dying down, or was it, still apart? I'm like, it was still like at 1:15, 1:30, it was still like it was at 9. It was, there was still, the room was still pretty full. There was a lot of people still there. It was quite the party even after 1 a.m. So, and Dave and I were talking like, this has been the best Club 400 party. And usually the smaller ones, like Javi Baez has been there, Schwarber, Wilson Contreras with Carlos Zambrano. Some of those big events that are in the summer months, spring and summer months, they're outside. It's a big party. You get a lot of first timers, just, new people, which, I mean, every Club 400 regular was new at one point in time, but there's just a lot of kind of a transient crowd. And it's not as intimate, but the small winter parties where it's just confined indoors, and then there's a small tent in the backyard that's connected to the basement. It's more intimate, and you get to know, like, it's mostly regulars, and so you get to really buddy and really build your friendships, and so that's what I like about the intimate parties. It was a little larger than a typical small party, just because it was a Christmas party, and it was Patrick Wisdom, who's a current Cub. So it was a blast as always. But we said at the time, like as we were leaving, like, man, this has been the best Club 400 party yet, and that was echoed by many people. Like, I'm on Facebook last night, like scrolling through, everybody's got their pictures from the event, and like everybody was commenting, this was the best party. This was the most fun I've had at Club 400, which is hard to top. Like, it's, but there will be an event that will top this. I mean, that's just the way it is. Like, it's always fun. But there's always going to be something that tops it. So, it's a great time. It's amazing. And I always say how I explain Club 400, like the stuff that's inside Club 400. And you may have seen pictures. I've posted, pictures throughout my time going there. I think to like drill it down to like one thing is there's 2 bathrooms down in Club 400. So it's basically a men's and a women's bathroom. So the smaller bathroom has a urinal and sink, and then there's a larger bathroom that has the toilet and actually has a bathtub shower combo. So in the men's room, the urinal, up on top of the medicine cabinet, up in the corner is a game used signed David Ross catcher's mitt. And it's just, you wouldn't, unless you took the time in the bathroom to look around. And I mean, you look over to your left and there's a large poster of Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, and maybe Santo, all autographed. Fergie Jenkins, I think, was on there too. I think there's 4 Cubs, and it's just like Chris Bryant autographs, like in the small bathroom, and up on top of the medicine cabinet, a David Ross game used signed catcher's mitt, which would be like one of the most would be a centerpiece in my collection. Like it would be a top 5 item in my collection. But here at Club 400, it's just hanging out up in the corner on top of a medicine cabinet. So that's, I mean, it's just the memorabilia, just all the stuff. The bar, like around the bar, are all game used bats. So I've never taken the time to count them, but maybe next time I will. But it's insane. John Benedict is the organist at Wrigley Field. So he's there. He's actually a Western Illinois alum as well. So he's close with Club 400. He was actually hanging out at Club 400 before he became before he took over for Gary Pressey at Wrigley. So he was playing. I did some video. Had a band after the Q&A, and he was on the keyboards. He played the organ throughout. There's an actual Wrigley Field organ at Club 400. It was an organ that Gary Pressey used from, I can't remember the years, but from like the 70s into the early 2000s before it was replaced. So it's a magical, it is the Disney World for Cubs fans. It's an amazing place. So epic party at Club 400 on Friday night, so much so that I skipped a card show on Saturday, but it was well worth it. So I don't have any plans for a card show, and I've talked about this. I don't have plans for a card show for a while. I've got so much inventory from the previous few card shows that I'm kind of just, I need to scale up before and it's a slow time also, which I know is a good time to buy. But I'm going to hold off. I don't think there's any card shows in my area. It's December 12th. So probably my next show will be the Rockford show in January. So, which I think is the second Saturday. I may head over to Oak Creek, the January show. And now we're getting to the point in time where it's like, it's game time. It's a game day decision. If I'm going to be traveling to card shows because of winter weather in Wisconsin. So my plan is, for sure would be the Rockford show in January. And then the next Madison card show is January 29th. Already near sellout for tables. And we're 6 weeks away. A few more first timers. I've got a lot of the regulars back that had to miss November because of either deer hunting or Thanksgiving travel. So the January show, I'll probably after New Year's, I'll really buckle down on on reaching out to past vendors and getting that advertising rolling after the new year. Right now, I just don't want to spend the money and have it buried with Christmas stuff, where I do my ads. So just kind of keeping it, posting it every once in a while, kind of a trickle. And then once January hits, then I'll do the full blown ads to promote it, a few weeks out. And then likely, and I'll want to really pump it that first week in January because I I need to know like a week in advance if I'm going to open up the hallway. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So I'm looking to be a big show. Hopefully we open up the hallway and I can get 75 tables. At minimum, I'll have 65. I think 65 tables in the room, and then get 10 tables out in the hallway if it gets to that. So that's the plan. Herman says Club 400 for me would be Murph's in Atlanta. Very cool. So that's what I had going on this weekend. A lot of fun. Now it's time for a lot of work. Go Bears! Today is game day. I'm not really I wanted to trash talk my old coworkers, but I'm not too optimistic on today's game. They play the Green Bay Packers, so I'm not too optimistic on what's going to happen. So I might just keep my mouth shut. Because otherwise I'll eat crow like I have like every other Bears Packers game in my lifetime. So go Bears. I don't have my Bears hoodie. What's funny is I always wear my Bears hoodie when they have like a bye week or like a Monday night game or a Thanksgiving game, and it's Sunday. I wear my Bears hoodie on Sunday. And when they do play on Sunday, especially a big game like this, I need to be rocking that Bears hoodie. So I'll have to dig it out, because if I leave the house, I definitely have to show my colors, my orange and blue. So go Bears. That's what I had for today. Thanks for tuning in. Crow's nasty. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, and yeah, Herman knows. Herman was snacking on some crow last week. But I don't have any room to talk being a Wisconsin football fan. Not a good year. The basketball team lost yesterday, and I've become an Illinois fan. They lost. What a game yesterday with Arizona. They made some errors down the stretch, but I used to hate Illinois. I hated Illinois, where I like almost as much as the St. Louis Cardinals. Like, I wanted them to lose every game. And like in 2005, I grew up my entire life in Illinois, but I was always an Iowa fan because they were on TV. They were on local TV out of the Quad Cities. And Illinois was not on my local TV, and we didn't have cable. And actually, I don't think games were really televised much on cable back in the 80s and 90s. Certainly not as much as today. So I grew up watching Iowa Hawkeyes basketball on TV and became a huge Iowa fan. And so much so that I have to hate Illinois, and like all my friends kind of like the Cardinals, and it's like, I just want you to lose every game. 2005, I rooted for the Tar Heels. In fact, I was on morning radio at that time, and my co-host was a diehard Illini fan, and I was a diehard anti-Illini fan. So the night after the game, after the national championship game, I went to Walmart and I bought everything in the party section that was Tar Heel blue, streamers, balloons. That was probably it. But I grew up kind of a North Carolina fan. Like, I was kind of a bandwagon North Carolina fan in like junior high. So I had a few jerseys. I had like a baseball jersey for some reason. I had a couple basketball jerseys, some shirts. So I brought all that in. I decorated our studio in Tar Heel blue the day after the Tar Heels beat Illinois in the NCAA national championship game. That's how much I did not like Illinois. And now I find myself rooting for Illinois against Arizona yesterday, and even in Big Ten action, as long as they're not playing Wisconsin. If they play Iowa, I really don't care. After I moved from my hometown to Macomb and went to school at Western, Iowa wasn't on TV down there. We didn't get the Quad City channels, so we were getting channels out of Quincy, so they weren't covering Iowa. So then I just kind of lost track of rooting for the Hawkeyes. So now it's like Illinois, Iowa plays. It's like it's kind of like bandwagon. Like, who's better? If Illinois is better, I want them to win. If Iowa's better, I want them to win. And the main reason I'm rooting for the Illini are a friend of mine has a son that's a sophomore on the team. He doesn't play. He plays some time at the end of games. So it's been fun watching his rise through high school and now with the Illini, and seeing some of the Illini players back on the farm in small town Illinois is pretty cool to see. And the head coach, Brad Underwood, is a former Western Illinois guy. He was an assistant at WIU for like 10 years. In fact, he was there. We narrowly crossed paths professionally. I moved to Macomb in April of 2003, and following that 02-03 season was he was an assistant for Jim Kerwin, and I don't know if Kerwin retired or was let go, but so Underwood went on to, I can't remember where he went from there, but so he was there for like 10 years. So just that Western Illinois connection is I've always rooted for Brad Underwood. He was an assistant for a long time before he got his first head coaching job. I think Stephen F. Austin was his first job, took them to, a couple of runs in the NCAA tournament, then went on to coach at, where was it? Oklahoma State. Got a big job, and then he jumped to Illinois. Herman can't do basketball, but I'm going to have to learn soccer. My daughter made her middle school team. Oh, awesome. Congrats. I've been putting soccer cards in my eBay store. I don't know where. I found a pile of like color prisms and select and Topps Chrome refractors. I don't know which box I bought them in, but I found some like one card. I'm like comp, and I'm on the couch, and I'm like the last comps are like $35-$40, and I'm like ready to put it in my dollar box because it's just a color soccer card. Like I tell my wife, I'm like, this card's like $40. She's like, oh, cool. Like not as excited as I am. So now it's like I got through, like I listed like a stack of soccer cards, and I've got like another stack, and it's like I'm so tired of listing soccer. I don't know any of this. I have to comp everything. I'm just going to put the rest in my dollar box. And I'm like, I better not do that because there might be another $40 card in here. I don't want to get burned. So I was comping some more last night, and there were some like $5 cards, and actually a couple of them sold. So got a few bucks more. Than every dollar counts. So Jenny's starting to get back into basketball. This is kind of the time where I'm really big into it in November, like the preseason, and that's when all the marquee matchups take place, and especially around Thanksgiving, they have the tournaments. And then I'm big into it through like December, and then it gets into conference season, and it's just kind of on any given night, especially road games, there's going to be upsets. It's hard to win on the road in Division I, in any level really. And then February, like by mid-February, then I'm back into it. Then basketball and baseball really, come back to the forefront for me. But I'm still watching. I was watching the Illinois-Arizona game last night, getting into it. I think I was watching. When I came home, Wisconsin, Ohio State was on, so I actually watched quite a bit of basketball yesterday. I don't know if there's any big games on today or not, but anyway, that's what I had for today. Coming up tomorrow night, check out Herman and Kin on 3B Collections channel for Hobby Chat. Tuesday night is Hobby Hotline, 8 p.m. Central. Not sure who's on this week for Tuesday night's show, so check that out. I've got to go back and watch yesterday's show still, and I'm going to watch Jeremy Lee's Sports Card Live. I think he had Adam from Dave and Adams on last night, so I always enjoy his shows too. So have a great Sunday. Go Bears, and we'll talk tomorrow.